I think a lot of companies will fall down when they want to start partnerships because they see the benefits that companies that are doing it successfully are, but don't necessarily have the knowledge of really how to set that up. And that's where things go wrong. If your goal as a company is to expand market share or gain many new customers as opposed to one big customer, all of those do come down to the same goal, which is increasing revenue, but that's not the only goal or the only direction that you can take. You can put yourself in the shoes of the partner and say, okay, how can we drive value for this partner? That's going to get them their attention, and it's going to build the trust that you need to drive that partnership forward, because it's not just the partner that has to remain accountable to the relationship that you're building. It's also you that has to be driving value and remaining accountable as well.
Today we will be discussing why most SaaS partnerships fail and how to build SaaS partnerships that actually drive revenue. My guest today is KaraLynn Lewis. She helped multiple SaaS companies to build the partnerships program from the ground up. She's now a fractional go-to-market and partnership leader. With her company, Partnership Advisory, she helps companies leverage their ecosystems and grow their revenue through strategic collaborations. Welcome to the show, KaraLynn.
Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Let's dive right into the topic and into a story. Have you ever signed a partner deal or partnership that completely flopped? And can you tell us what happened?
Definitely. I would say, not to be too specific, there have been many, luckily many little ones. That's the good part of it. But I think this is actually often something that many partnership professionals run into, because when you're talking about partnerships, these relationships that you have with other companies, there are a lot of nice conversations, a lot of companies that are interested in getting commission in your product. So you do a lot of demos, have a lot of chats, a lot of handshakes, and then nothing really happens. And that's one of the main reasons that partnerships do fall down, is that there's a signature and you think you've got it and then nothing actually happened. So that's really how I learned the hard way in the beginning of my career, that a lot of nice talks doesn't necessarily equal results and effective partnerships. It really takes those two parties to actually continuously drive sustainable value for each other and actually end up in a successful partnership.
Nice, because that goes really well into my next question, I guess, like what defines a partnership in especially SaaS? But you kind of already mentioned it, but if you frame it based on this question, what is a partnership in SaaS besides the signature?
Yeah, partnership is a broad term and it kind of means a different thing to different people when you ask them. But I would say a partnership broadly is a relationship that isn't transactional. So it's not based on somebody providing a service or product and then exchanging money for it. It's really a relationship that should drive mutually beneficial value. So that's a very, very broad term. And within the SaaS space, that can fall under many different partner types, such as technology, referral, channel, affiliates, as you very well know. So a lot of relationships fall under that broad definition of partnership.
What are the most common types or common partnerships you see? You mentioned referral, you mentioned affiliates. Which others are there?
I typically divide them into different buckets. So technology would be other SaaS vendors that you might integrate with or cooperate with. And then let's say channel or commercial partners, those are typically the referral, reseller. But the most common relationship that you'll see in SaaS is actually referral, mostly because it's the lowest risk, easiest partnership to sort of enter into. And that's just throwing a deal over the fence and registering it as their lead and getting a commission payment. So it's a very simple relationship. And affiliates, of course, is one that we're seeing more commonly. That's really the lead for commission and is a bit more on the marketing side of things with tracking links and these types of methods that companies will help spread the word for another company's software.
Yeah. And like your expertise more goes into the partnership side, right? Like really, I guess,
Definitely.
not referral, not affiliate, but more partnerships.
So you see the partnership and the value of partnerships coming as a kind of systemic, scalable relationship when you have co-sell motions, when you have these collaborations, and when you have these products. That's more of the relationships I'm managing, sort of the deep ones that create a lot of impact.
Yeah. to distinguish referral and affiliate. Referral for me is always in-app in a way, where you can have like an in-app referral program, so you can generate a link for all your users who want to recommend you. And what we typically see, there's two-way benefits to them. So I invite KaraLynn to the app, I might receive a commission and she could get an extra trial or extra credits or discount or something like that. And where affiliate is like purely money orientated, so I invite KaraLynn to our application and I would receive 30% for 12 months, for example. And she doesn't even know that she signed up via my link sometimes.
The key difference is that affiliates really build their business around the sale of the product. So those commission fees and really getting the messaging out there is the core aspect of the business. So it's kind of a cross between a partner and a marketing channel in that sense, which is interesting. And then the partnerships that I typically deal with are businesses that have another core business. So it's not selling the products that's the core business, it's something else. And then your product or the sale of it or the collaboration with it sort of folds into their core business. There's definitely a lot of overlap, but also some big differences too.
Yeah, because what we see, for example, if SaaS companies are looking for a partner program, they book a demo with us, right? But what we typically see is they don't even want to give away commission, or the agency doesn't even want to receive commission. They purely want to help their client to become more successful. This is also the point where a lot of processes changes, like the agencies might sell for them, they might do support for them, sales and CS processes change, and often the ACV is also a lot higher because it allows them to actually do that.
It just goes to show that you can say affiliate partner or you can say technology partner. And while under the umbrella of partnerships, it requires such a different program, such different operational processes, and deep expertise and knowledge as to how to make those two different motions successful. It is very broad.
Today we're going to talk about partnerships. What are the top reasons partnerships usually fail?
Yeah, sad stories. And a lot of partnerships fail, but that shouldn't necessarily scare anyone away. I mean, there's also a lot of partnerships that succeed, but I think a lot of companies will fall down when they want to start partnerships because they see the benefits that companies that are doing it successfully are, but don't necessarily have the knowledge of really how to set that up. And that's where things go wrong. So that's also what in my business, I try to help companies avoid. As I said at the top of the conversation, I've also made a lot of those mistakes myself. So now working very hard with my clients to help them avoid those roadblocks and pitfalls. There are a few failing patterns that typically show up in startup and scale up companies. The first is not having a real strategy. So any opportunistic partnership that comes in, or maybe one partner just wants to have a commission for a deal that they already know is going to close, and having those nice conversations and spreading attention far and wide amongst potential partners is really where a lot of time tends to be wasted, and then no real results, or at least scalable systemic results, come from that. Another reason I would say is the wrong expectations. This is coming into more maybe the individual partnerships, but also the program as well. You think a partnership is one thing or should deliver something, and you don't really set up the operations to deliver that. So for example, saying, okay, we've signed up a partner, we're expecting tens of thousands of leads per month, whereas the partner, the same thing about you, and then nobody actually moves. So making sure that the expectations are set right. You also understand that typical sales practices or tactics aren't necessarily going to work for a different partnership program. All those expectations should be aligned, and then the right efforts applied to make sure that those expectations are managed and also hopefully fulfilled. Finally, and I think this folds into both of the former points that I've mentioned, is the lack of investment. This can mean many things. It can mean the wrong hire, investment in the wrong partnerships. It can mean the investment in the wrong activities, or it could actually mean no investment at all. So just signing that deal and expecting the leads to come in, or simply hiring a junior employee and expecting miracles to happen, but not actually putting any budget behind activities. Not investing properly in getting partnerships engine off the ground is probably the biggest one that I see companies sort of grapple with.
Nice. We're going to turn this around. You need to have a strategy. You need to have the right expectations. You need to be able to put investment into a partner program. So if I now ask you how to set up a partner program correctly, almost step by step, what would you recommend people to do to make sure that once that signature is set, things are actually going to happen?
Yeah. So I typically take my clients through this process. The first step is always understanding. So this is really where strategy comes into play. You don't have to spend forever on it, but it's really important to really have a direction and an area to focus so that you know that you're doing the right things. So what I typically do with my clients, and what other companies can also do as well, is look into your organization, see where the organic opportunities are coming, who are your customers working with, and really try to find any data that you can that already exists in your organization, and also align what's already happening and the opportunities that are there with your goals, because you can't do everything all at once. If your goal as a company is to expand market share or gain many new customers as opposed to one big customer, all of those do come down to the same goal, which is increasing revenue, but that's not the only goal or the only direction that you can take. So really understanding that high level strategy and plan before moving forward, then moving towards the partners, defining what kind of partner is going to fit with you, what is the joint value proposition with that partner, where is the value for the customer, the partner, and for you to actually make that plan possible to execute on. Second step, I already said it, is executing, establishing those relationships and working with the partners. As good as your strategy might be at the beginning, it always might change a little bit, or you might learn some things along the way. So executing, iterating, actually talking to partners, figuring out what works, what doesn't, and really diving deep with the partnerships that you get momentum on. And this execution can take a lot of different paths. Maybe it's developing technology integrations. Maybe it's looking at service or agency partnerships. Maybe it's developing an affiliate program, but just diving into that one direction and making it a reality and a success. Beyond that, once you have that engine going, or once you have that foundation laid, the next step is really scale. With my business, that typically is finding talent. So an in-house partnership representative or a partnership team. So the initial groundwork you've done can be replicated, processes applied, so it can be systemized a little bit, and then of course expanding and growing that success to make it actually a scaled revenue engine.
Yeah. Before that time, right? Like if you hire somebody in stage 3 scale, who does the first parts, like 1 and 2? Is that the marketing person, the growth person, or is it an external person like yourself? Who would actually do the first 2 steps in this case?
Yeah, great question. It can be a mix of all 3. And for many companies, it is. No 2 companies are alike in that sense. They're all coming from different stages of maturity. So for some of my clients, I do it all for them. In the companies that I've worked for in the past, I have also done all 3 of those, with both on my own and with a team as well. But sometimes it actually starts with the CEO or founder, because those relationships that are built from day one, or that are personal relationships that are maybe strong, start with the founder who really has the vision, who has the passion, and then grow from there. Those are actually really great seeds oftentimes to start a scaled program from. Or you might have a product related relationship where you have an integration that's very integral to your product. That's the seed for a great partnership. The foundation can be laid at various different points from any part of the organization. But if you're really looking to take that formal understanding and execution and scaling part in the most efficient way, that's typically done by a sort of partner owner, whether that's a partnership manager internally, an owner internally, or someone external like me.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? If you, I guess, like going to leverage the organic opportunities, as you mentioned, based on existing data, you kind of want to have somebody who knows what is within the company already, who knows, I guess, maybe a client who knows already the potential partner. So starting with the founder, or I guess like somebody who talks a lot to your users, could be really one.
Exactly. It's the difference between a scalable program and individual successful partnerships, because you also might have a company that doesn't have a formal partner program, but has one really successful partner. That's absolutely fine, but it's less likely that that relationship is going to be replicated without the sort of strategic understanding and then executing on processes that are built, because that partnership has developed organically and without actually diving into and understanding what's going on there. It's not a guarantee that a company that looks even just like it is going to be just as successful, because there's a lot of ingredients that have to go in and a lot of stars that have to align. The best way to figure out how that's done is to understand and start at the beginning.
Are you struggling to find a cost-effective and scalable marketing channel?
check out Reditus. We help you to have other people recommend your SaaS, and you would only pay them when they deliver you paid clients, making it a very cost-effective and scalable marketing channel. Want to learn more? Go to getreditus.com. Let's assume we did the understanding part, set the foundation. We found a couple of partners, defined our ideal partner profile. We're going to talk to them. How do we make a partnership work? So if they do have to sign that document, they put a signature on it, like how can we actually make sure that they're going to do whatever we want them to do? And as you mentioned, drive mutual value, not just expecting everything from them, but also vice versa.
One trick that I always use is actually by giving first. So a lot of companies, which is a very normal thing. I mean, you're focused on growing your company, you're focused on selling your product, and the partner is actually focused on their world and their activities. The expectation that the partner is working for you is actually, one of those common sort of pitfalls that we talk about. So I think that if you can put yourself in the shoes of the partner and say, okay, how can we drive value for this partner? That's going to get them their attention, and it's going to build the trust that you need to drive that partnership forward, because it's not just the partner that has to remain accountable to the relationship that you're building. It's also you that has to be driving value and remaining accountable as well. And something that a lot of partnerships miss, the follow through. At the beginning of the relationship, you have a lot of hopes and dreams and all these sorts of things. But then when it's time to actually drive it and follow through, that's where everybody gets distracted by the next shiny thing, and those efforts kind of fall down. Setting realistic targets and in ideas for yourself, also aligning those with the partner so that everybody knows what you're planning on doing and everybody is really committed to those actions moving forward, and then making sure that you're holding each other accountable and driving enough value that it's worth it for both of you. So that's partly setting it up from the beginning, but also partly following through once you're actually down that road together.
And is it a typical saying, I heard it once in a session where they say like, sell the first 3 clients for your client or for your partner, then do the next 3 together, and then watch the next 3 getting sold by the partner. So I guess like you first give them 3 clients where they could get commission, or they might just be able to sell their services towards, help them, and then watch them. Is that a typical thing?
Yeah, 3 is to a degree an arbitrary number, but definitely, as I said, the best way to get buy-in from a partner is really by giving them something, showing them that, there's real value here for you if you're going to work with us. It also gives them an opportunity to become familiar. There are always kinks to work out. Even if you have, a really well-developed partner program, it's still a different business, a different partner. And then once they're up to speed, they sort of crawl before they can walk, before they can do it independently, then you've really succeeded in becoming part of their daily business and also becoming a key contributor to their bottom line. Then once you have that business built around yours, that's when you really see that proposition start to fly.
Yeah. Once you start getting partners in, how do you evaluate them? Is it purely on revenue? Do you look at other things? You have the co-marketing you mentioned before, so it's probably not purely revenue generated. Like, what do you look at when you evaluate partners?
There's a lot of different KPIs. You can evaluate the partner as an individual, how engaged they are, how many customers you have, what the success even as granular of your activities has been. So not just how many activities, but actually how successful were those? What kind of audience did you reach? And really treating it as a sort of joint business venture. And I think a shift that I see in the partnership space now is actually that KPIs of programs with partners are being tracked and teams are being held accountable, because partnerships has been a little bit of a sort of fluffy space because nobody really knew how to do it. Everybody was just figuring stuff out. It was all about relationships, which can sometimes be hard to measure. But now different KPIs, not just partner sourced revenue or partner influenced revenue, but as I said, those activities, maybe the number of champions that you have in your partner, how many leads they're driving, how many customers you have in common, having those KPIs to not only track your partner success, but also your program success enables partner programs within companies to actually have a seat at the table and have a number to work towards and also a number to show. The tooling that's coming around these days, like Keyflow, Intro, Euler, for example, to name a few, even working within your CRM, those are all really helpful to actually monitor the performance of your program and your partners, but also to improve upon it.
Yeah, because if you look at a typical PRM, so partner relationship management platform, you can connect your CRM system. The partner does the same. You can match against, do we have similar deals? Do we have similar companies in there? And you can co-collaborate on a deal. So especially for higher ACV SaaS companies, this is really interesting. So you can track activities and also monitor like where's the deal actually, and you don't have to give updates towards the partner all the time. They can just see it themselves as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's really helpful, I think, for both your sort of internal positioning, but also for the partner as well, because it's very compelling to somebody that isn't necessarily focused on you yet as their core business to say, look, here's what we drove together. This is what we can do next quarter. It really becomes running a joint business project as opposed to just a nice relationship, which is really cool. And I'm really loving to see partnerships becoming a little bit more of a data-driven, formalized field and discipline, as opposed to nice feelings and good relationships, which of course it still is to a degree, but the data helps legitimize it a little bit.
Yeah, the channel gets more mature in a way that you now need to start actually tracking things, and there's tools available for your specific channel, which is nice.
Definitely.
We're still somewhat in step number 2, right? Execution and iteration. Step number 3 is of course scaling. So I guess like once we set up the right KPIs, set up tracking the activities, like how do we actually then start scaling the program?
Scaling the program, always looking back at what you have done, what's working with partners, what's not working with partners, also learning from partners. What do they have to say? A lot of companies have a lot of partners that are dormant. Some of that is just because, sometimes partners end up being dormant. That's the nature of the game. But when you talk to some of these partners, oftentimes there's a reason. Sometimes it's fit, sometimes it's timing, sometimes it's actually something that you can change based on experience or education or whatever, enablement, whatever it may be, to actually improve that. And then that helps you grow beyond that. I think also really engaging with your partners, investing in your partners as well to help them and yourself do what you both need to get the word out and to actually make your partnership effective. And looking internally, what operational processes need to be there to make things more efficient. Going back to the systems piece, if you're managing partnerships, 3 partnerships in a spreadsheet email and maybe your CRM, that's okay. But when you start to get systemized, it needs to be official. It needs to be somewhere where your partner can track their progress. There needs to be certain compliance that goes along with that. Figuring out what works, systemizing those behaviors and processes, and then applying it to a broader group of partners is really where you start seeing that scale come into play.
Let's make it, I guess, like super practical also for the listeners. So I guess we kind of kept it like somewhat high level, right? How to set up the program, how to then set up the partnerships. Do you have any examples of great partnerships you see out there or you set up yourself where they did some co-marketing, they really did things on trust, or they're super transparent on how they do things? Like anything, I guess, you can share regarding best practices?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't necessarily model my program off the big players because they're a lot different than a smaller startup or mid-sized scale-up. But I think what's really interesting that you see across all of the biggest tech companies is that they've made themselves into a platform. So thinking about Shopify, thinking about Microsoft or Salesforce, they all have given their partners the ability to actually build their own business on top of the platform. That's not just complementary solutions that can coexist, but it's actually influencing the partner's revenue so much so that the partner is sort of tied to the original vendor and offer a whole proposition, extra proposition and value to the customer based off of their own product. So you see that with Shopify, they are supporting an entire e-commerce ecosystem, payments, shops, additional services to make shops more efficient. And they really lean in and embrace that. Another company actually that's part of the Shopify ecosystem is called Gorgeous. They're in the customer support communication space. And what I really liked about what they did is that they committed their whole organization from the top level, the CEO, to the Shopify ecosystem and optimized the performance of their software to Shopify merchants. So that's really tailoring your customer profile to a partner. And that, of course, enabled the partner to then invest in your company and make it grow because it's servicing their customers in the best way possible. So I really love to see those collaborations and really see organizations leaning in and investing fully in their partnerships, because you see that high degree of investment is really what makes a partnership program successful.
Yeah, and like when you give these kind of examples, right? Shopify is of course huge already. I don't know where their revenue is. In the workshop, there was a debate on that. For example, the smaller ones, or for, I guess, companies which aren't the Shopify's yet. Like you mentioned, you have to invest in it, but when, I guess, do you start investing into it? Because not everybody can build like a platform like that from the ground up, especially early days. So I guess like if we go more towards the early stage companies, any best practices here? Like when should they start looking into something like this?
Definitely. So there's two directions I would take with this, or maybe three. The first is that it's never too early necessarily to start with partnerships, but with a caveat that it's sometimes too early to start with these programmatic elements. Like I said, the founder relationships, those kind of friendly handshakes that you have early days, it's never too early to start with that, because warm referrals from friends in the industry get you really good customers. And if you can also find early days a gap, for example, if your product solves a gap for a bigger software, even if it's just the next level up's customers or even a service company's customers, then they are going to be so motivated to bring you in. That's going to bring you a lot of customers. It's never too early to start bringing they're looking for opportunities like that. But typically when you're looking at that scaled program with multiple partners or a higher volume of partners, you're really going to want to do it after product market fit. If you're still building your own house and seeing what works and figuring out who your ideal customer profile is, the thing with partners is that you want to align your own ideal customer profile and all these different elements with your customer. And if you don't know your own customer, then how can you identify who the best partners are for you? Plus, if you haven't really found product market fit yet, other than fulfilling that gap for another company, there's not necessarily a lot or as much that you have to offer as a partner to companies in that context. So I would say that relationships, filling gaps, strategic things, and sort of higher level relationships or opportunistic relationships can always be worked on. But when you're really looking at systemizing those things, you need to have a clear idea of what you are doing as a company, what your profile is as a company, and what kind of partner you're going to be to the partners that you're going to go out and acquire.
Yeah, it makes sense. If you don't know your ICP fully, you haven't figured out conversion rates, and you don't know how to fully sell them, how can you expect people to refer you?
Exactly. If, for example, you only have a couple of customers that, are your first kind of flagship ones, that's interesting. But what partners are, of course, always going to be looking at you for is what kind of customers can you bring me? What kind of reach do you have? And you can really play with a better crowd once you've already built up that solid foundation for yourself. So I would focus the efforts on, doing things internally for your company and making your company really strong, because that's going to only make you a stronger partner and make you able to attract stronger partners as well.
Yeah, because in the end, there's nothing much to give if you don't have the PMF yet.
You need to focus your efforts on the right things.
Yeah, and don't focus on affiliate marketing either, because my recommendation is get product market fit first. The hard lesson here, you have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
If I try to ask you to summarize your best advice on SaaS partnerships, Sean, what would you say in one sentence, your best advice on SaaS partnerships?
It's a bit broad advice, but I would say first, of course, start with a strategy, understand your partner landscape and pick a direction. And then also don't try to cast the net too wide, but really go deep with the right partners. So invest in those relationships that have momentum, that really can go the distance, then start to scale. Don't try to do it all at once. Quality, not quantity, maybe is the short version of that.
Nice. Are there any trends you currently see in the SaaS partnerships landscape in maybe 2025 and maybe even looking ahead already?
Yeah, a big trend, which I love, as I said, is the KPIs. Everybody is cluing in a little bit more to being more data-driven, to getting this sort of structure in place, which is great. And generally in partnerships, I see that it's becoming more of a commonplace division within businesses. So when I started out in partnerships, ecosystem was a buzzword and it was just kind of something people were playing with. Nobody really knew. And now you see that it's almost a must-have for every company, even if it's still not necessarily initiative that everybody knows exactly how to do it or the right way or the best practices. It is something that, officially, I think 75% of companies are already doing. And I would say more than likely, almost 100% are at least thinking about it. So that's just partnerships in general being part of the go-to-market function in all companies is a trend I see in 2025.
Luckily, you keep a job like that. That's good to hear.
Exactly. Keeping and growing.
We're going to start wrapping up. And for season 7, we have 3 closing questions instead of the typical 2. First, revenue phases. So you can take this more broader. You can keep it on partnerships. You can do however you want. But what kind of advice would you give a SaaS founder who's just starting out and going from 0 to 10K monthly recurring revenue?
Yeah, they're a real true startup. I would say focus on the relationships that you have, leverage those where you can and don't necessarily try to systemize yet. And also those gaps, really see what not just customer, but what potential partner or peer am I solving a problem for or a gap for, and try to buddy up with them wherever possible and find the product market fit. That's also a good one as well. So, yeah.
Nice. Well, let's assume we achieve that, or at least we achieve 10K monthly recurring revenue, and we're going to make a huge step towards 10 million ARR.
Yep.
What kind of advice would you give SaaS founders here?
First, starting with those successful partnerships that you have, go deep with them, really understand them, make them a success before trying to necessarily replicate or expand. When you move up to 10 million, it's really about taking that understanding and success and applying it to other companies there. So what lessons can you take from that successful partnership? How do you make that a system and then grow from there, especially at the 10 million end? That's where people should start thinking about, how do I make myself a platform? So getting more after the HubSpots, the Salesforces, the Shopifys. How can you actually make your platform an integral part of somebody else's business and actually help them grow their business off of the growth of your own platform? Because again, that's really where you start to see that extreme growth going into sort of unicorn area, when other businesses need your business to either survive or to grow, or want to help you grow so that they can grow. And that's that flywheel that starts really taking off at that point.
Yeah, it's a nice milestone you added. Too early stage, you won't have the ability to do it, but later down you would have the ability to have other people or businesses to build on top of yours. It's nice you put it at the end of the 10 million.
10 million and beyond.
Exactly. Final question. What, in your opinion, should SaaS founders prepare for in the next 1 to 2 years, looking into the future a little bit?
Yeah, looking into the future, of course, AI is the hot topic. What's that going to mean? It's interesting for partnerships because on one hand, AI or the use of AI tools can actually help a lot with partnership development, finding companies that suit your profile, figuring out which customers they have in common, doing those sorts of strategic research projects. That does really help. And just the operational efficiency element, co-marketing, all of these tasks that partnership managers are often loaded down with can be expedited with the use of AI. But at the end of the day, partnerships is a relationship business. You need to have that human element to it in order to make it really work. And so I also see that partnerships will be a very key aspect, and the ecosystem will be a key aspect for companies to really stand out amongst the noise. Because with tens of millions of personalized emails and touch points and marketing campaigns and all these things, those will still be important. But what's really going to cut above that is the human to human contact, the relationships, that trust element. And partnerships is really the embodiment of trust between two organizations. So partnerships will only become more important. So I would say over the next 2 to 3 years, it's something that people are really going to want to pay attention to and invest in.
Nice. With a little bit of automation, but not too much. Keep the
Definitely makes a lot of tasks easier. So I'm a fan, and I'm excited to see what's going to be coming out of that space for my field and SaaS in general.
Yeah, we're actually at the moment building our own AI agents to find potential affiliates for SaaS companies. It looks really promising. So I'm really curious as well what it's going to bring for us. And you can almost do the same thing for partnerships in a way.
Yeah. Well, in affiliate, I think it's especially important because you really finding you want to have more affiliates that are successful. And I think having that ability to cast the net wider in that sense with that research as opposed to a manual Googling or however it used to be, that will make a huge impact. So I'm excited to see how that goes.
I'll keep you updated. I will try to summarize. So if we go all the way to the beginning, a partnership is a relationship that isn't transactional. So you need to drive mutual value. It's never too early to start with SaaS partnerships. Typical failures, not having a real strategy, wrong expectations, lack of investment in any way. If we put it into a process like how to set up a partnership program correctly, first understanding, so find organic opportunities based on existing data, leverage the founder relationships, align things based on your goals, define your ideal partner profile, define the joint value, then dive into execution, talking to partners, what is working. So really iteration on what is already working. Give first, expect later, and make sure you follow through on partners and track KPIs and activities. If you're going into the scaling phase, kind of do this after product market fit. Find somebody who could be responsible for the scaling of the program. Find out why partners are dormant. Engage and invest into your partners, and then systemize the processes along the way. Best practice, I guess, like try to build up an ecosystem, but maybe not do it too soon. It gives the ability to build a business on top of yours to people or other businesses. And in the end, AI can automate things, but you need to keep the human element to really stand out.
Absolutely. Yes. I like the last one, especially.
Well, if people liked this episode, how can they contact you, KaraLynn?
Best find me on LinkedIn, KaraLynn Lewis, making sure it's spelled correctly. And you can also find me at www.partnershipadvisory.com or Partnership Advisory on LinkedIn as well.
Perfect. Well, we're going to add links towards both of them. KaraLynn is spelled with a K and a Y and double N. For people listening on Spotify, please leave a review so we can boost the algorithms. And other than that,
subscribe.
Exactly. Oh, this is the first time somebody else did it for me. Thank you. And thanks again for coming on, KaraLynn.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you for watching this show of the Grow Your B2B SaaS podcast. You made it till the end, so I think we can assume you liked this content. If you did, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. If you like this content, feel free to reach out if you want to sponsor the show, if you have a specific guest in mind, if you have a specific topic you want us to cover, reach out to me on LinkedIn. More than happy to take a look at it. If you want to know more about Reditus, feel free to reach out as well. But for now, have a great day and good luck growing your B2B SaaS.